I'm wondering if MAGA is ready. I think they are for Trump to be convicted, because I think that is most likely that Trump will be convicted, even though he definitely should not be. I think he will be, and I think MAGA, thankfully, I think MAGA is in a place where that'll happen. And I'm not saying they'll be happy about it, but they'll be like, yeah, screw you, buddy. We're still voting for him. And it won't make, if anything, it'll make his poll numbers go up and it'll make his fundraising go up.
Right.
Um, it's not going to land him in jail. It's not going to prevent him from taking office. It's not going to prevent him from being on the ballot. Uh, so the harm here is going to be his criminal record, but he's going to appeal this anyway, and most likely will succeed on appeal. So, the only thing I think this is actually I don't want to call it a Pyrrhic victory necessarily for the left and for the deep state, but it's definitely one of those things where it boomeranged on them, and it hasn't done anywhere near. I think maybe in their mind, a lot of them fantasized that the hush money trial and the details that came out at it would be of great harm to Trump. Like they thought it would turn off a bunch of voters to him, and they could not have been more wrong. Just absolutely could not have been more wrong. It's almost like it's so bad. It's almost like the people who indicted Trump are actually helping him because
Yeah.
like they did it to help him because it's helping him so much.
It's
But
actually, I was just going to
go
say on
ahead.
that note, it's a bit of a weird situation that we can feel like, I feel like in this community, truth community, people who feel like they pay attention to this stuff and try to think about it not on a surface level way, but on a macro lens, and you're trying to, when you're looking at something like the hush money trial, we're usually trying to take that as a puzzle piece and fit it into this larger mosaic of what we think is
Yeah,
going on with a Patriot plan. And it's almost bizarre to us, I think, at times when we see that um, the normie layers of the public mind are just starting to say things that are extremely obvious to us. So for example, not even getting to the end of the show, but just something like I'm seeing, mainstream people, culture war people, etc., floating out this really crazy hot take that the trials against Donald Trump are helping him for 2024, right? And it's like, that's kind of where we start our analysis.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
sort of like going into an algebra class, you need to have a foundation of addition, subtraction, addition, and multiplication and division. Like you've got to have you've got to be speaking the right language to go into an algebra class, so on and so forth with mathematics. And with this stuff, it feels the same to me, where we are approaching these things understanding that even if we're not always correct about what the specific strategy is at play, we are observing the effects of the strategy. We're observing that them bringing this hush money trial against Trump is backfiring on them immediately. It's obviously bad for their polling. It's bad for their mandate within the public mind. We're talking about on Wednesday night. How are they going to deal with this? It's hilarious because I feel like if a normie, we're so far down the timeline in this community that for a normie turning that show on, I think we forget that they're looking at us being like, hold on, the premise that you're laying out is already mind shattering to normies. Our premise is that obviously this is horrible for the establishment and super good for Trump. But we're just starting to get some culture war people being like, I feel like this might not be bad for Trump. And it's like, oh, what was it? Was it the fact that none of these trials have any substance to them and they're constantly boosting Donald Trump? Or was it the fact that he's selling out arenas in the Bronx in New Jersey while he's on trial there? Which one was it that made you, Mr. YouTuber, start to tiptoe out onto this really risky ledge of saying that it might not be going in favor of the establishment. And it can be frustrating. Like I sound cynical and sour grapes-ish when I say something like that, because it is annoying sometimes. But it's also encouraging, because it shows that all of a sudden you get some of these normie sort of culture war people talking about it, and it becomes a widespread, just mainstream topic that people go, this is probably actually helping Trump. And you're even getting lefties saying it in the media now.
Yeah, and there's I do think a conviction is most likely because of the TDS in Manhattan. But the right decision is, of course, for him to be not guilty, because there is no crime here.
Right.
And what I've noticed is media starting to float that idea out that things didn't quite go well with Michael Cohen on the stand. Trump didn't testify, and if that would have happened, it really would have helped Bragg's case. There could be some jurors who aren't gonna be convinced here. Like, they're starting to like prime a little bit just in case it's not guilty or it's a hung jury or something. Because I think while they went into this hopeful that it would actually get Trump and convict him, they were expecting it to do more harm. And it hasn't done that harm. And they've seen how Trump has utilized the trial to his advantage through his speaking to the press and to the people in between going in, his rally in the Bronx, etc. He's used everything to his advantage that he possibly could. So the media, I think they're noticing Trump has turned this into he's making dividends on this thing. We're right. The ones who are supposed to be getting dividends off of it. And if he doesn't get convicted, then it's going to be even better. It's going to be like when he was acquitted of impeachment all over again, right? It's going to be one of those sorts of moments where so I think they've started to program their audience a little bit with start to put in code a little bit of excuses into their audience just in case he's not convicted. And it'll be interesting how they react. But the main thing I'm looking for is how MAGA reacts.
Right.
One, because the more peaceful, the more enthusiastic, the more like, screw you, we're going to vote him back in. Nothing, this doesn't matter to us. Like, the more they have that attitude, the more that's of a positive I take it to be.
The Badlands, running the Badlands. Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.